Normally, I don't really update the same weapon build within the same year. Not because I don't want to, simply because there's no reason to. This time, however, we're going to be making an exception in the case of the Fulmin because there's plenty of new things to talk about. So today, my friends, we're going to be re-diving deeper into the Fulmin. As always, my name is Leyzar, and I got a cheap setup, something affordable that newer Tenno coming into Warframe should be able to get around with. But rest assured, we also got the endgame setup. We're gonna have a galvanized setup with no Riven, then galvanized setup with a Riven. We got a little bit of steel path. Basically, we got everything. We're gonna round everything out with Warframe buffs as per the usual. That said though, do bear in mind that the initial portion of the vid usually is more new player friendly oriented. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of that stuff, what you can do is skip ahead or just have a little bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Fulmin. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon functions without any mods equipped. And after that we're gonna jump into stats and all of that good stuff. So let's take a couple of free shots. The Fulmin is a primary rifle and it has two fire modes. In primary fire mode, as you can see, it fires this Arcaplasmor-like projectile. It's small, it's round, and it doesn't have the benefits of the Tenant Arcaplasmor. For example, it can't bounce for anything. It simply seems to be detonating upon impact, but it has no detonation component, so that's just a visual effect. Now the range of this one is 20 meters, sadly. 20 meters, this is it. This is your maximum range, and you know what? It gets worse than that. The fall off starts at 10 meters, so maximum damage from that fantastic projectile, that's it. This is 10 meters to your target. After that, you're going to be getting some fall off. Of course, in the modding section, we will improve this aspect. Now, it's not all bad. Actually, it's quite good because this one, just like the Arcaplasmor, has body punch through. But sadly, only 3 meters of innate body punch through and absolutely nothing for surfaces. Of course, body punch through means it's going to be going through multiple enemies. It's still a thick boy, so you're going to be able to get headshots rather easily, and you do want yourself some headshots. Now, that's not the only trick that the Fulmin has. To access the secondary fire mode, you gotta press the secondary button, like so. And then the silencer gets put kind of like under the weapon, like that. You saw that? The Warframe will be holding it as a sense of stabilizer. It looks absolutely fantastic if you don't take into account the clippage on Garuda. Now, in secondary fire mode, this one transforms into a full-blown automatic rifle. And this may seem like it's a projectile-based attack, but it's not. Okay, it's hit scan, and as you can see, my friends, the fire rate is super solid. The recoil is basically non-existent, so it's a super solid fire mode. One last thing, you notice the ammo, right? This is a recharge weapon, so basically I'm gonna shoot, stop shooting, and then the weapon automatically recharges itself, so do bear that one in mind. Primary fire mode will be consuming 10 ammo per shot, and that's pretty much it. Let's check out the stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. Mod capacity 60 out of 60, and when you get the Fulmin, unless you bought it with Plat, you gotta jump into actions and plug in the Auto King Catalyst to double that mod capacity. The Fulmin right now in Warframe is one of the most popular primary weapons. It's solid, it's got 2 strong fire modes, I highly recommend it, so yes, it's definitely worth investing in. My Fulmin has been format 8 times, it doesn't matter why, you just need 4 format, or 5 depending if you got a Riven, you got galvanized mods, you don't got galvanized mods, and so on and so forth. Definitely unlock the empty arcane slot as well, and my recommendation to you, my friends, would be to go with primary merciless, unless of course you're using it in tandem with your melee weapon. In that case you go with dexterity. Since the builds for the Fulmin are going to be focusing around getting proc damage, a lot of slashes and all whatnot due to the high critical chance, Deadhead is not necessarily a bad choice. Any of these are good, duh, but it wouldn't exactly be ideal. Again, it's going to depend on your build. If you want to go for raw strength for something like a corrosive heat build, then you can go for Deadhead as well. Now, in the Weapon Excellence slot, which you should unlock, this one is a bit of a no-brainer. You're going to be going with some increased projectile flight speed with terminal velocity. Now that's 60% projectile flight speed. Outside of the projectile going faster and making contact with enemies faster, therefore more reliable damage, it also has the benefit of increasing that stupid fall off from 10 to 20 all the way up to 1632, and that's a whole lot better. So terminal velocity, best in slot in this case. Stabilizer is not really needed because, again, you don't have much of a recoil on the automatic mode. You do have a recoil on the primary fire mode, but again, velocity is simply put better. Accuracy, it's pinpoint accurate. You can't really cry about accuracy, and yes, in this case, if you want to go for heavy calibre, it's more than worthwhile. You don't need to worry too much about the loss in accuracy. Allow me to show you really quick with a little bit of multi-shot. Seeing is believing. Always make sure to put on multi-shot when you're testing accuracy. Primary fire mode. Again, it's a thick boy. It does go off the crosshair slightly, if you see, but it doesn't really matter. As for secondary, it just jiggles a little bit, but still well within the crosshair. So again, if you want to go for that, this route, for heavy calibre, you can definitely do so, but bear in mind, considering all the brand new mods in Warframe, you don't really need it. Let's talk crit. 30% on the base fire mode, on the primary fire mode, and on the second one you got 28%. 2.2x critical multiplier on primary and 2.4x on secondary. Needless to say, this is a critical weapon. Okay, of course you're gonna go for crit and a little bit of slash, and since we're on the topic of slash, well, my friends, what are you gonna be using for slash? You have two options. The ever so popular and powerful Hunter Munitions, this one 30% chance to apply slash on critical hit, or the brand new option for some, internal bleeding. Ah, yes. Impact status effects have a 35% chance to apply a slash status effect x2 when fire rate is below 2.5. Fire rate is below 2.5 on the primary fire mode of the Fulmin. And there's one thing that I didn't mention. The primary fire mode of the Fulmin has a guaranteed impact proc. Now that's definitely juicy. So all of your shots with the primary fire mode will generate that impact proc. So you're going to be getting yourself 70% chance to apply a slash. Beautiful, fantastic, a no-brainer, right? Well, no, not really. Since Hunter Munitions and Internal Bleeding cannot generate both a proc from the same shot at the same time, only one instance can occur. Believe it or not, Hunter Munitions is still the way to go. Why? 70% is definitely better than something like a 30% true, but if you take into account using the secondary fire mode as well, this one doesn't have any impact at all. So therefore, internal bleeding for the secondary fire mode is completely worthless, especially if you would consider the fire mode as well. So Hunter Munitions still outweighs internal bleeding in the case of the Fulmin. Unless you're just going to be using the primary fire mode and that's it, and you don't care about the automatic rifle mode. So do bear that one in mind. What else we got, my friends? Magazine of 60, you know, it's self-recharge. It's silent in primary fire mode, so this one synergizes beautifully well with Ivara. Reload of 1 second, and this is not the whole recharge time. This is simply the delay, right? Between you stopped firing and the weapon started recharging itself. That's that 1 second. In total, you're looking at about 2.5 seconds for a full recharge. Riven disposition 2 out of 5. It's hard for me to recommend Rivens for low dispo weapons because you're gonna have to be either extremely lucky or pretty rich to get an actual good Riven for the Fulmin. But yes, mathematically speaking, it's still worth it, so do bear that one in mind. Status chance super low actually on primary, 16%. I don't really care all that much as long as I got that impact proc, which in the past was a curse, now it's a blessing if I'm gonna be using internal bleeding. And that's a lot of damage. 500 straight off the bat, not bad. As for the secondary fire mode, as you saw, the critical stats are pretty similar, slightly lower base but a higher multiplier. Fire rate is solid, same magazine of course. Status chance 10%, again a little bit on the low side. It's still more than enough to make use out of that fantastic brand new mod, Galvanized Aptitude, my friends. This adds so much power, especially in combination with Hunter Munitions, with the slashes, with the viral, with everything. It's gonna be absolutely great. As for the damage, you got puncture and electricity on the secondary fire mode. And with that out of the way, let's have a quick look at a standard build. Damage with Serration, Multishot with split chamber, critical chance, and critical damage with critical delay, vital sense. Now, that minus 20% fire rate for the secondary fire mode is a bit of a pain, but still more than worth it. Look at your critical stats now. In primary mode, you went to 90% straight off the bat and 84% in secondary. From my humble point of view, definitely worth getting critical delay. It's a corrupted mod, just like heavy calibre. So if you don't know how to farm corrupted mods, and trust me, you need like 60-70% of them. You do need them in your arsenal. Link in the cards right now for a full and easy mode guide on how to obtain these mods. Now, of course, we got Hunter Munitions here and the two 60-60 Vital mods, since Slash goes together with Vital like two peas in the pod. In essence, if you don't got Vital on your targets, it's pointless to go for Slash. So we got Ram Rounds, Malignant Force. This one is farmed from Spy Missions and Malignant Force from Corrupted Vor in the Void. Needless to point out, my friends, this is a more new player friendly oriented setup, right? Let's say you don't have Rivens, you don't got Prime mods, you don't got fancy this and fancy that. Something a bit more introductory, something to play off of for when you know, get all the necessary OP mods. In the last slot, this is what I like to call an option slot. You want the simple option that never fails, Vigilante Armaments. 60% multi-shot never fails, my friends. If you don't know what to go for, definitely try out Vigilante Armaments. Or perhaps you just want that extra little bit of crit. You know, I want to go to 100% guaranteed when I get myself some headshot, and you go with Argon Scope. In the past, it used to be expensive. It's not anymore. You easily obtain it by doing bounties on Deimos. Go for this one. And now your critical chance are essentially guaranteed as long as you aim and get yourself the headshots to get the Argon Scope rolling. We're going to be testing the weapon out like this, just so you can see what it can do on level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons. I'm just going to double check really quick to make sure that Garuda doesn't have any buffs to skew the test results. Oh, by the way, what do you think of my Vampire Queen Garuda thingy? Fashion thing. Level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons as per the usual, and we're going to be using both fire modes on these targets. We're going to go straight for headshots. Take a look at that. Beautiful slash procs, beautiful vital procs, making use out of that body punch through, absolutely annihilating the Corrupted Heavy Goons. And of course, you can get even more value than this when it comes to the body punch through, because that's the thing, in primary fire mode, this is like a mini Arca Plasmor. And if the situation doesn't suit a mini Arca Plasmor, you switch to the secondary fire mode. Look at that. This is a normal, average, everyday setup. No fantastic mods here, no galvanized, no arcane, and it still jumps through high-level targets without much issue. And the reload mechanic also helps it a little bit, so you don't need to worry about the whole wait, it's reloading animation and all whatnot. That's the kind of base performance you can expect out of the Fulmin. Not bad, but of course, my friends, we can do a whole lot better than that. Now, if we were to introduce galvanized mods, and if we were to introduce Riven mods, then you can make something a whole lot more powerful. I see a lot of you guys say, hey, listen, man, I can't be arsed to get a Riven, right? So why don't you replace the Riven out of your Riven setup? Sure, we can do that as well. You need to understand that this doesn't really make a whole lot of difference when it comes to Dispo 2. In this particular case, take a look at the value. 76% critical damage, not bad, another 100% crit chance, but the most important part here is that toxin. Because that toxin will allow me to save a mod slot. I can still go for my slash vital build, and I'm saving one mod slot for something a bit more powerful. In this case, I can use Galvanized Aptitude without any issue whatsoever. So let's take off the Riven for a second. I'm just gonna go with Toxin, because if I don't have the Riven now I do need Malignant Force on the build, like so. Perfect, 0 out of 60. Calculation, my friends. Primary Merciless on this one, since a lot of my targets are gonna be dying to procs, so I'm not gonna go with Deadhead as before, Velocity, and we also got Galvanized Chamber instead of the normal version, and Amalgam Serration instead of normal Serration. From a testing perspective, Serration is better. Okay, you got 10% more damage, but the thing is, in actual gameplay, I would recommend you go with Amalgam Serration, because you do get 25% sprint speed at a cost of 10% damage. I mean, it's no big deal. One more time, the level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons. I'm never gonna use the Riven. I want to showcase the fact that you don't get a huge benefit just from the Riven alone. Now, with a build such as this, all in all considering, look at that. I'm gonna be able to stack my... As soon as you get a couple of stacks, the weapon goes absolutely nuclear. Again, we're gonna use primary fire mode initially. Look at that. Boom, boom. Simply exploding. 12.5 thousand bleed there. Now, of course, I'm stacking. And the higher I stack, the more powerful the weapon will get. That's how galvanized mods work. And of course, that is how the arcane works as well. Fantastic. We're gonna be spawning them one more time, and we're gonna go full-blown automatic. I do have a couple of stacks now, so do bear that one in mind. Switch into automatic. Look at that, man. Chumpy, chumpy. Chumpy, chumpy. How beautiful is that? And the vital proc should be helping the electricity proc as well. The weapon does deal default electricity damage. It's worth bearing in mind. So, of course, you can go from target to target like so. You don't need to actually stop firing. You're not going to stop firing in a normal mission unless, of course, you're actually legitimately testing your weapon. And this is the kind of performance you can expect out of... Oh, they're stacked together because I didn't kill them. Well, in that case, let me switch the primary fire. There they go, mama. There they go. This is the performance you can expect out of a galvanized setup for the Fulmin. And from my humble point of view, it's definitely something worth building, 100%. Now let's introduce the Riven, just so you can see there's not a huge difference. Which one was it? Was it you? Was it you? There we go. We got a little bit more crit. We got the toxin. We got a critical damage. One more time. The same targets, same level. Quick test. And then I got something different for you guys. Because I changed the mod on the weapon, yeah, all your stacks get resetted. But as you can see, the weapon has no issue going through targets as before. And the difference with a Riven, it's not that huge. It's not that huge. What is important here for the Fulmin is that you have those galvanized mods and the arcane. The arcane makes one hell of a difference. Take a look. Beautiful, beautiful. The more you stack, the more powerful it will be. That's an arcane energized proc. It doesn't have any effect on the actual damage. Now for the automatic mode. Chompy $5. I mean, what more can you ask for? You know what else you could really use on this? It would be fantastic for the automatic mode. Shred or prime shred. Dude, that would be insane. But where are you gonna put it? Instead of what? And you know what? If you're really after the assault rifle affair, then I can recommend you something different. Is that what you're after? You want the assault rifle affair? Do you like miniguns like I like miniguns? Do you want to meet the daddy of miniguns in Warframe? And no, it's not the Tenora Prime. Link the cards right now. Trust me, build that weapon. You will love it. Now, here's another thing that you guys say sometimes. Listen, Leyzar, can you actually show a steel path gameplay? Yeah, sure, but it's basically the same thing. Off to the path of the steel. And here we are in the void, my friends, in the path of the steel, just like you requested. Now, these are level 120 Corpi, so they're probably not gonna do a whole lot. Oh, by the way, I got my Vulpifila with me. Okay, I got my Vulpifila, so that is worth bearing in mind. Here comes enemies. I didn't see what they were because they died. Come here and fight me. One headshot. Two hit, dead, bye-bye. This guy dead. More enemies, please. Okay, here we go, more enemies. Fantastic, fantastic. Look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, absolutely fantastic, man. When it comes to the weapons damage, I mean, do you even need more than this? It's really up to you, but it can definitely hold its own in Steel Path without any issue whatsoever. I'm also going to be using Breach Search. That is a part of my build, and that will increase DPS, of course. But when you're going Steel Path, I'm assuming you're not just going to use your weapon, right? You're also going to be using the whole arsenal at your disposal. That's why I picked up the Vulpifila and everything. That's how kind of I would go. And as you can see, level 130, that Corrupted Heavy Goon, there it is, there it is. See, the test results are the same. That's why I show you in the simulacrum, because basically this is what you get. Now, what I could also be doing is staying a while in a defense or survivor or something, but honestly, it's simply not worth it. So back to the simulacrum. Now, of course, there's still one more thing that we can do, my friends. Bump up everything with Warframe buffs. And for that, we're going to be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime. But this is how you would play against level 120 Corrupted Heavy Greens. As you can see, the weapon has no issue whatsoever, and it's able to chomp through these targets like a hot knife through butter. When it comes to Mirage, the aura that you can go for is something like Corrosive Projection. Now, honestly, this is meta against heavily armored targets for obvious reasons. It used to be a whole lot more powerful than this, but honestly, it did deserve the nerf. However, if your build calls for something like, I don't know, Power Donation, Grow in Power, Physique Rejuvenation, and whatever else, simply use the aura of your choosing. If you care about your aura that much, may I remind you of Coaction Drift. 15% aura strict and 15% aura effectiveness. Okay, now you might be curious, what does it actually do to my aura? Head on over to the wiki, they got a fantastic table there, which explains exactly what it does for who. Now, Arcanes, however, are a lot more impactful. These two are farmed from the third Eidolon down on Cetus. Arcane Avenger, I wouldn't really use this one in normal day-to-day missions for the Fulmin necessarily, simply because the Fulmin has more than enough critical chance. However, this one grants its benefit to primary, secondary, and to melee at the exact same time. That 21% chance for 45% critical chance for 12 seconds, bonus additive after, so it simply stacks on top of what you already have. Instead of this one, I would probably go for something like an Energize or some additional armor, depending on the case. As for the safe option, Arcane Rage. On headshot, a 50% chance for plus 180% damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds. Now, this flat damage is fantastic for what I like to call normal level content, but for super high level content, it gets mitigated severely because of how well damage mitigation works in Warframe. Which brings me on to the final subject I wanted to tackle. I see a lot of recommendations like drop your Serration, drop your flat damage and simply just use Galvanized Aptitude. No, not so fast. Now that's a fantastic recommendation if you're gonna be doing super high level content. I'm talking about level 1000, 2000, 7000, something like that. Yeah, definitely. In that case, drop your flat damage, forget about it, replace it with something which will help you a whole lot more in high level. But for normal level content, I'm talking about up until level 200-ish, definitely go for flat damage such as Serration. That front-loaded damage will increase your clear time by a significant amount. Again, build a weapon depending on the task that you're going to be doing. Are you doing sortie? Are you doing level 100, level 50s, level 150, something like that? Front-loaded damage for clear time is definitely the way to go. Oh, you want to do endurance runs in Path of Steel, you want to face off against level 3000 Corpus, Corrupted, whatever else, definitely drop the front-loaded damage, rely heavily a whole lot more on procs and the additional scaling damage that you get from something like Galvanized Aptitude. And its corresponding parts for secondaries and shotguns as well, including Condition Overload. And with that out of the way, one last trick, of course, the Sentinel, my friends, this being a primary weapon, get yourself a Sentinel. Any Sentinel will do, for example, Carrier of the Prime. On that Sentinel's weapon, make sure you have the 4 Vigilante mods, Offense Applies Fervor for the 20% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. Even if the little Sentinel dies and never comes back to life, you will still retain that buff. Let's bump up the level, 160. It's not gonna make a huge difference, but still, we're gonna be unpausing the AI so they can hit me and I can get my glorious buffs. We're gonna activate Mirage's Empower ability, then her third ability for a massive, absolutely massive 840% Eclipse. Here's something that I also see in the comments. 840% Eclipse doesn't mean 140% damage. It works differently. It's not like a Vix armor. It's a lot more powerful than Vix armor. And finally, the ever so lovely clones. Now, of course, the weapon was doing fantastically well before. What do you think is gonna happen now? This is what you call clear house. With very little effort on my part. The only real thing I care about when I'm using the Fulmin in gameplay like this, I'm just trying to make sure I'm within that fall-off distance. 16 meters with terminal velocity. And that's really the only thing I pay attention to. Make sure you go for a headshot. The projectile is fixed, so aiming a little bit above enemies' heads is definitely the way to go. And as you can see, my friends, it has no problem in clearing high-level targets like a hot knife through butter. You think automatic is not good? Switching to automatic. Boom, boom. That's it. It's gone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And if you got any sorts of feedback for me, by all means, my friends, drop it in the comment section down below. Also in the comment section down below, if you guys want to suggest any particular type of content. For example, I would like to see this build, that build, and all of that good stuff. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And if you love the content, hey, consider supporting us via Patreon. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.